Hello, my friend, and welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and I am Heather, and I am super excited that you are here. And I just want to let you know that you're going to hear some tips and some tricks, some ideas, all to help you live your happiest and healthiest life. It is called Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, then you can take better care of others. And my goal is to make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way. I am really happy that you're here. Your true self is waiting. So it is time to step up and thrive. Hello, my friend. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast. We talk about all the fabulous ways that you can be your own version of well, because everybody's got their own. And I think that's amazing. This is me. This is Heather. And I'm speaking with another amazing human being today. And today I'm talking to Nisha Goyal. And Nisha is a self-love guide. Who doesn't need more love in their life? You know, I actually saw a song the other day, Nisha, that said, love may not be the complete answer, but it's a good start.
I could not agree more.
Right?
I could not
So
agree more.
yeah, I mean, don't give all all the hippies who are talking about love a really hard time because they're not totally wrong. It's a good place to start. But before we start on love, Nisha,
Yeah.
how the heck, because I know some of where you came from, how the heck did you get into the world of being a self-love guide?
Oh, it's it's been a journey and I have always loved personal development. I've always been somebody that was very growth oriented and I love being introspective and working on myself, trying to understand why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, why things aren't happening the way I want them to. And as I started to reflect about how I wanted to be of service, be a better human, be a better entrepreneur, businesswoman, woman all around, I kept going back to self love and my own journey around overcoming 10 years of burnout, a lot of programming that wasn't serving me. And I always came back to self love and three very core wounds that I think every woman has. And those are, am I lovable? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Everything for me in my journey boiled down to those things. When you don't feel on some level that you're good enough, that you're not worthy, it impacts everything, your relationships, your health, your career, your basically your fears, what you think you're capable of. And so I've done a lot of stuff and a lot of growth and a lot of work over the last 7 some odd years. And I just really think that we need to put this message out there for women, especially high achieving women. So many women these days, it's not just about family. It's about how can I be amazing at being a mom or a wife and a friend and all these things, but how can I also be amazing in my professional life? And it's just added so much burnout, I think, and extra pressure. And I don't think as women, we're never, at least in my experience, we're not taught that being a good woman means just being good for ourselves. It's all in what we are to other people. And
Right.
so that's where I just feel really passionate about showing other women that you come first and you can't give what you don't have. And the only way I've been able to climb out of burnout is by focusing on valuing myself and loving myself. And from there, it's just elevated everything else.
And it is so strange, right? Um, that mostly it is women who all of your worth is what are you able to provide or do, or and I mean, I know guys have that has
Yeah,
something similar, like, they have the, you gotta be the good provider, but women how somehow became you have to provide and birth, and I
yeah.
c this that Dolly Parton song jumped into my head, from that where it's, like, trying to be everything to everybody. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
try to sing it. I think no, no, don't ask me to do
You
that.
can try, but I
It's like everybody has to be somehow it became really glorified to be the superwoman who could be and
yeah.
do everything for everyone and still look hot on a Saturday night and go out and party. I'm like, "Who is that not real person?"
Yeah, and but you know what? To that, Heather, it's be hot, but don't be too hot,
Oh, no.
right? So you're just never it's never it's never good enough. Be your best, but don't be too much.
Yes,
Be loud, but not too loud. So I just think we need to get back to who we are as human beings and filling our own cup, focusing on ourselves, loving ourselves, even when we're not at our best,
right,
and knowing we can't be perfect. I mean, it's so much easier said than done. And it's been a journey for me. And that's why I'm really passionate about showing other women how to do this in their day to day, how to date themselves and
right,
fall in love with who they are. Because we spend so much time focusing on how do I find someone else to date, or how do I find other people to give me what I want. That's all really great and important. We all need family, we all need companionship, we all need those things, but give it to yourself first and date yourself and fall in love with yourself first every day. It's a daily choice,
right,
right?
and I was having this conversation actually a few months ago with someone. You just reminded me, it was like, they want companionship, and I said, "That's humans are very social creatures, so companionship is important,
Yeah. Yeah.
but going about finding a companion as, like, are you the companion? Are you the like, are you going to provide me this thing that I need that I'm missing? When
Yeah.
in reality, you're not missing anything, and if you keep looking for it, if you keep holding that person up against this thing that you need, you're just gonna be alone all the time, and that energy of that comparison of, are they the person? I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of pressure to put on a date." "Are
It
you the
is.
person?"
It is.
No, I'm
Like,
not. I just met you."
don't make one person your Advil, you
No,
know? And it's easier said than done, and it's not about being, let me be perfect first, but just, get to know yourself, connect with yourself.
and there's no perfect anyway.
There isn't. And it's just this idea that we've been taught to find validation externally in what we do for other people. And I'm not saying don't be a giving woman. Don't, your children need you, your partner needs you, your friends need you. Absolutely, right? But
Yeah,
if you're doing it at the expense of yourself and your own sanity and your own, in my case, I burnt out personally and professionally for
right,
a long time. And I let it get to a point where it's like I had this armor. We're like, oh, I can do it. And I did it and I did it and I did it. And over time, I started to wear down and the armor just became too much. And I snapped.
right,
Well, like, I was like, bye. Like, I snapped. And everyone around me was like, what is wrong with her? Because I finally had to say, just no, I'm not doing it.
right. And I remember, like, I had this conversation maybe, like, over a year ago. It's like, if you don't have the ability to say no, not only are you, you're putting that extra weight on yourself of you carrying everybody's crap and doing everything for everybody and wearing yourself out, but you're also demonstrating to those people that that's how they should treat you. And
Yes.
you're showing your kids this is how it is to be a person who, is constantly, this is how you are in the world. Because kids learn from watching their parents, right? This is how mom is. She's always, trying to make everybody happy except herself. And so then your kids go, oh, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
So they'll do that to you, like, they will have their high expectations of you because 'cause you've set that standard, and then they'll do that themselves in their own relationships, which
Yeah.
is not what you want for them, but you have to model what you think it is to be, a healthy human.
It's exactly true, and it's like that saying that when you're in an airplane and
Yeah,
they're giving you those emergency instructions, what do they say? They don't say, "Put your mask on all the other people first,
right,
and then put your mask on last." They don't say that. They say, "Put your mask on first, and then put it on your whoever's beside you or your child or you whatever,"
right,
right? It's so that's what I'm saying is you can't give what you don't have. When I was burnt out and I had nothing left, I basically left the building, for lack of a better phrase. And now I'm in a position where I can give so much more.
right.
I can give this message, I can guide women because I know how to nourish myself,
Yeah,
even in the moments when I don't feel great, because self love it's not just about bubble baths and spa days and flowers. I mean, absolutely, those things are important, but it is truly about how you handle yourself when you're experiencing those negative emotions, when you're angry, you're sad, you're pissed off, whatever it is. It's just you have to go inward first and you have to treat your body and your mind and your soul with the love it deserves.
I always like to say, it's not like we're all skipping through the flowers with rainbows and unicorns. We're all
We're
still
not.
we're all still in a regular life.
Yeah.
We just have a different perspective. So, and I know that when people listen, they go, "Yes, yes, I know, self-love, blah, 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 self-love, blah, blah, blah." And then they don't know what to do with that,
Yeah.
right? So they say, it's like I can remember 30 years ago, I went to the doctor and she said, "You need to lose weight." And I didn't know anything about health at that time. I was an accountant. I'm like, "Okay." So I left her office going, well, that was helpful. What do I do? It's like
Yeah.
you have a command with no idea of how to even approach it. So when we tell people, listen, you've got to love yourself and fill up your cup, and they go, okay, and how do I do that? So do you
Yeah.
have what
I
do you
know.
what so how did you do it? Like, what did you do besides saying, I'm out of here, you guys, see you later? Because that's not always an option for everyone.
No, and I mean there's so many things, but I think the first step really is acknowledging that you need to do more for yourself. It's having an awareness. I think that something's not working,
Yeah.
right? And just acknowledging and accepting that, okay, my relationships aren't working, or I physically don't feel great, or I don't love the way I look. No, it's not even about the way you look. I don't love who I am.
Or how I
Whatever
feel.
or how you feel, just acknowledging it is really important. And I think the analogy I use is we're very good at knowing what to do when we want to find a partner, right? So when you go on a date, what do? You have a conversation. Like if you want to get to know somebody, think about the process you go through for getting to know a prospective partner. When you don't know anything about that person, you're basically dating for the purpose of, well, I want to see if I like this person, that I can be in a relationship with them, and ultimately maybe I can love them, right? I mean, that's ultimately usually what the goal is. The same thing applies to you. So what I say is self-love starts with having an awareness that you don't like the way you feel. and it's about learning to connect with yourself. And the easiest way I know to do that is to start taking time to be with yourself. Maybe it's 15 minutes that you go sit in a room away from your kids, or maybe you go sit in the park and have a coffee, or maybe you want to grab a journal and a pen and ask yourself a couple of really quick questions, like have that conversation with yourself. Whether it's, I find it easier to write it out.
Right.
I think it's really easy to take a pen and paper and ask yourself 3 questions. How do I feel right now? What, or and reflect on what's going on in your life. Maybe it's, if it's, reflect on something that happened the day before that's on your mind. Maybe you had a wonderful evening. Maybe you had a fight with somebody. Like what happened? How do I feel? What do I like about it? What don't I like about it? And then gratitude is the third thing I find. Just thinking about 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for. I think that's really important. So essentially, being able to sit with yourself and have a conversation with yourself and get those feelings, like it's like spaghetti in here. So how do you make sense of that? And I don't know, I personally don't I have a hard time trying to make sense of something when it's all jumbled up in my head.
Right.
So I like using journaling. Um, I find that's the best way. And I think if you start connecting with yourself like that on a consistent basis and having a conversation about understanding, what do I like? What do I don't like? What makes me angry? What makes me happy? Why am I sad? What energizes me? You'll start to figure out what you like and what you don't. What do I love? Oh, I hung out with that person last night. That didn't really make me feel great. Well, why didn't it make me feel great? Or, well, when I hang out with Heather and we have a conversation, I always feel really good. So anytime we can do something that makes us feel better, to me, that's self love. It could
Right.
be sitting in the park, it could be taking a bath, it could be buying flowers. I find journaling and connecting with your thoughts a really good way to do that. So that's where I would start.
Well, and it's interesting because I'll say this a lot to especially my clients who have businesses. Your brain is a factory, not a warehouse. So
Mhm.
you can't store all that stuff in your head and let it swirl around. So it's like if you can get it concretely down onto paper, you have that kinesthetic writing, and then you can visually see it, and it won't feel so overwhelming because it's not just all crowding
Exactly.
around in your head. So I like the writing thing, and I like the giving yourself that permission to have some alone time because some people it's
Yeah.
tough, but when you do it, don't doom scroll, don't open
No,
social
don't.
media, like, that isn't your 5 minutes to go and I was just playing a hidden object game a minute ago. It's
Yeah.
not your chance to run off and go play your video games, it's, like, your chance to not not engage with the world, but engage with your inner worlds.
Yeah, and uh, the way I like to put it is nourish, don't numb.
Right.
So
Oh, I like that, I'm writing it
connecting
down.
with yourself is about nourishment. I'm not going to say that numbing never happens. That's real. Like sometimes that's, if that's what I've done it, right? I mean, if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. But again, loving yourself is about acknowledging that and not judging yourself through that. But generally, try to nourish yourself. Do something that makes you feel better than you were before you did the thing,
Right.
whether it's journaling, going for a walk around the block, letting the sun move on your face, taking a bath, calling somebody and having a conversation, buying yourself something nice, like whatever it is, it should make you feel better and nourish you in kind of a longer term way, not that way that, sometimes we do things in the moment. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to binge eat, like half of a chocolate cake, and then you feel worse after. Like, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not nourishment.
That is not
You're
nourishment.
supposed to feel good after,
Yeah. It's
now,
a healthy nourishment. Yeah.
right? And I mean, it's a longer process than people probably like knowing in advance that it's not gonna be next week, everything's gonna be fabulous, right? You have to
Yeah.
give it time to to I don't know what the word
Grow.
is. Yeah, to grow, to percolate, for the ahas to come. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I've been down this road for, oh my gosh, I don't even wanna say, a long time I've
Yeah.
been walking this road, and I can remember when I was burning out. My thing to do when I was, like, on the edge was I would leave the office and I would go to a playground and swing on the swings. Like
But
right?
I love that. I love that because you're returning, it's like you're feeding your inner child, you're returning to something that brings you joy. I mean, I don't know anybody that goes on a swing set and does not feel joy.
Right? And I'm wearing a business suit. I'm like, "I have to leave this office right now before I kill someone. I'm going to the
Yeah.
swings." Right?
But
So
that's self-love to me. That's self-love to
yeah.
me. And it's not a learning to love yourself. Like, again, when you're in a relationship with someone else, you have the ability to exit that relationship whether you want to or not, right? There are
Whether
things you
you
can
think it
do.
that or not.
There are things you can do to exit that relationship, but you cannot exit a relationship with yourself, because
No.
wherever you go, there you are. So learning to love yourself is a lifelong process. It takes, I'm still on the journey, as are you.
I don't think it ends.
It doesn't end. We just learn, maybe the dips get a bit, they get a bit low or whatever, but it's learning to connect with yourself and being able to sit with who you are and love who you are no matter where you're at.
I think the dips aren't so all-consuming.
Yeah, I'd
So,
agree
it's
with
not
that.
like, you know, life goes up and down and stuff is gonna happen, but when it happens, you don't go, "Oh my god, my life is over." You just think, "Oh, that's interesting,"
Yeah,
"What will I do with this?" And
yeah.
I can just remember as a teenager where when stuff happened, it was like, "Life is over." Oh my god,
Oh,
so
I know.
dramatic.
Well, we didn't have the emotional regulation. I didn't have that emotional regulation
No.
when I was younger, no.
No. Well,
That's
we
been
were
a
just
process.
learning. We were just
Yeah,
learning, and we're still learning, and I think that I feel sad, maybe sad is the right word, for people who have not taken the time to understand, like, people get triggered, I hate that word,
I know.
triggered. People get upset by things, like, things upset people. And instead of figuring out why you're upset, they blame the person that has upset them. So I think part of self love is, recognizing that all the reactions that come out of you are you,
Yes.
not, and that's not to, like, people say, well, I'm not going to love myself if I'm bitchy all the time. I was like, well, I have this little spray right here by my desk called Bye Bye Bitchy spray.
Get
But
out. That's
yes, I bought
I need some of that.
it's an aromatherapy spray, and I just laugh when I spray it. But don't blame other people for your mood or your reaction. It's something that's happening inside of you. And having we were talking about that emotional maturity, and the self-love is recognizing, like, I'm pissed off right now because this has happened and this person has done this, and this has made me I've it
Yeah.
has created anger in me, and it's interest like I go, whoa, I'm angry. Whoa, what's that all about? Instead of saying, you made me mad and it's your fault. I find it more important for the world that if we can recognize why we react to things
Mhm.
and what causes those reactions, that is a form of self-love
It
that
is.
allows us to understand why we did that, perhaps change the narrative or change the relationship that we're with. Because if they're going to keep doing something that is doesn't sit right with you, you need to shift out of it. And then peace and love and rainbows and unicorns everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it really is about being introspective and understanding why, why you get angry, why you get sad, and not judging yourself for it, right?
Yeah,
Forgiving yourself for being angry. I used to never be able to get mad because I was afraid that I would rock the boat and lose the relationship or the friendship.
right.
So I felt like I just had to keep it in and not get angry. And then I felt responsible for the other person's okayness. And I
Right.
realized that wasn't healthy either.
No.
Right. So now I get angry respectfully. And sometimes I just get mad. And that's okay. I mean, we're all trying to be better human beings. But it's really about not judging yourself for being angry. Get angry.
Yeah.
Number 1. Number 2, don't judge yourself for it. Obviously, try to be a, respectful human being about it. And then think about why are you angry? And that's where the connection and to self and deepening that connection over time, that's what brings the self-love because you get to know who you are.
Yeah.
And you can't escape yourself. So it's all about acceptance. This makes I get angry when, people stand on the wrong side of the escalator and or something like I'm the person that is always on, what is it? It's like driving. I like to just stand on the escalator and have it take me up. So I will go on the right side. If you want to go on the left side and go all the way up the top, great, but don't expect me to stand on the right side and motor my way up. Like I'm chilling out for those like 30 seconds. But I've learned that about myself. I'm like,
I think
you
it's
can
perfect
go.
because those people make me crazy too. It's like, you're only supposed to stand on one side of the escalator, people.
Yeah. I pick but it's about knowing those things about yourself. I'm like, I stand on an escalator. If you want to go jump your way up, go on the left side and go up it.
I think it's a Toronto rule.
Possibly. I'm like that in a car too.
Yes. And, it's everybody has those weird little pet peeves, right? That you if you let them escalate, they become if you say them out loud, they're ridiculous, right?
I
But
know.
if you let them escalate inside of you, they become really nasty, grumpy things that people go, "Wow, what's her problem? Like, why is
Yeah,
she in such a bad mood?" But let yourself be annoyed by those things, but recognize that they are kind of funny, some of these things.
they can be really funny.
Like people who use the door openers buttons when they have hands. I'm like, "You got a hand, pull the door open." I don't know why that I think it's my environmental side. Stop using the electricity to open the door when you can open it with your hands. I know it's a bit extreme. It's one of those weird things.
It's the world we're in.
It's the world we're in. Convenience. Everyone wants convenience.
Everybody
And
wants it.
introspection, I think some people run away from it because I just I knew someone once who I asked them once why they didn't spend time alone, and they said they didn't like themselves, and I thought that
Mm,
was awful, because you're the only person you spend your whole life with,
yeah,
and,
agreed.
and you might as well get to know this person, and introspection does not have to be navel gazing. You don't have to go on a retreat. You don't have to go to Vipassana and spend 10 days in silence. You don't have to go to the yoga studio every day. I mean, I meditate every day because I really like it.
Yeah,
Like, I get to first thing in the morning, I sit down, don't turn anything on, and I just have a little quiet time. Meditation doesn't have to be anything other than that, really. You know,
it doesn't. It can be
it's
really simple.
yeah, and such cool things can happen when you just spend those few minutes of you and you and you, the royal
Yeah.
yous, the me, myself, and I, the royal we, and enjoy the discovery. Instead of expectation, enjoy the discovery of who
It
you are.
it is really I like that you use the word discovery because that's really what it is, and I think so many so many women struggle with that introspection because if your mind is in turmoil or if you're not loving yourself or happy with yourself or there's something that's not going
Or you
well,
just feel like your world's in a hurricane.
yeah, and you don't want to face it, you don't want to sit with those thoughts, but it won't get better until you do,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Nisha, we could like write a book on
We
this.
could write a book on this. It won't get better till you face it, lady.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Hmm. Um,
Maybe.
hey, why not? So people want to know more about you, and so they go to your website. I'm
Yep.
gonna put it in the show notes, but I'm looking at my notes,
Yep.
nishagoyal.ca. That's Nishagoyal, Goyle like royal,
Yes.
.ca. And that will take them to all the links of all the things. But you also, I mean, until further notice, you're doing a live, um, what do you call it?
I
Um,
call it my Instagram podcast. It's called Loving Me
that's it.
every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I
That,
am
that's
on
Eastern
there
time,
at
friends. 7 East.
7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm on there having it's a weekly conversation about self love. I'm usually interviewing someone. If you are curious about being a guest, I would love to connect with you or just hop on and watch.
Right?
And there's some pretty amazing stories of women that have had pretty amazing journeys around self-love and their insights and you never know what you're going to pick up from it. So, follow me. My Instagram is at the Nisha Goyal. Um, you've got my website and I would love to connect with you, right? Send me a DM, send me a message on my website, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
And
That's why I do the podcast because even when I know people, I'm like, wow, I get to learn something new and
yeah,
awesome conversations, right?
you learn so much about just talking with other people and their stories. And I always take something from it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Add it to my thought bank.
Yeah, to your repertoire
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, I love that. I love it when she said that." And you just
Well, I'm writing notes over here.
I love
Nourish,
that.
don't numb.
Nourish, don't numb. Correct.
I love it. So before we head off of our podcast fabulousness, the guest gets the last word
Mm,
or words.
love love yourself first always. Just you are enough, you are worthy, you are lovable exactly as you are.
That's awesome. Perfect way to end. Thank you so much, Nisha.
Thank
You're
you so much for
fabulous.
having me on here. I so love talking to you as always, Heather.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll talk some more again soon, I know.
I know we will.
Friends in podcast land, I love you. So you
Oh,
know
I'm
that
not very good at making those. Yeah.
little hearts, we're making little
There
hearts
we
for
go.
people who are listening.
I love it.
And send this to someone who you know needs a little love in their lives, right? Share it. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know if there's something else you want to know about how to self love, friends. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Hello, my friend. I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you found it useful and you're like me and you want to help others, please share this, comment, like, subscribe, all of those things that will help this podcast to be found by more people. And if you found it useful, there's a chance that someone else will find it useful as well. If you ever have any questions, I am here to answer your questions. I would love to help you. My direct email address is info@heatherstewart.coach. You can also find me at heatherstewart.coach. And if you go over to my website, you will find copies of the podcast. You'll find the link to my Instagram and my Facebook. And I do have a personal request because I do want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. So if you could give me a review, and my friend, I would love if you gave me a good one. If you could share this, if you could send it out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope that you have an amazing day. I hope that you are finding your way back to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend. Be well, and we will see you again next time.